Griffin Award for Rehabilitation, 21 Dyer Drive, Black Mountain. Patricia Mabe and Jesus Ortiz purchased 21 Dyer Drive, considered by many to be a teardown, for the price of the land. Although the house was abandoned for more than 15 years, they were determined to give it life again. Their goals were to keep the footprint of the home as close to the original as possible, salvage everything that could be saved, make the home energy efficient without giving up the majestic old windows, and purchase needed items from the appropriate area from local businesses. As they carefully separated the wood that could be saved from what was water damaged and rotten, they felt the home begin to breathe and come to life. Trim, baseboards, and doors were scraped of peeling paint. Weeks were spent tediously cleaning the painted hardware, of which some turned out to be copper. 8 out of 9 tall, 5-foot double-hung windows were saved, and the top of each window was insulated. Windows that needed to be replaced were found at local salvage shops, and the blackened clawfoot tub was brought back to its original shine. The asbestos siding was professionally removed, and the original wood siding was too damaged by rot and decay to reclaim, so it was replaced with an engineered wood siding. When the front stoop and concrete steps were removed, they discovered the original stone stairs from 1927 that needed only minor repairs. The massive stone fireplace in the living room had been painted a thick, glossy brown, which took 3 weeks of strenuous work to remove. With the exception of a few hired professionals, nearly all the work to lovingly rehabilitate this home was done by the new owners. Griffin Award, Rehabilitation, 97 Broad Street. 97 Broad Street was built in 1908 by C.C. Willis, the proprietor of the Asheville Fish Market. It is believed the home was built as a rental property, and Willis built his primary residence a few houses down the hill. The home can be described as a vernacular late Victorian, with modest architectural details, likely a result of the property being constructed for the rental market. The floors and trim were heart pine. The first floor had 2 oak fireplaces, while the second floor had 2 pine fireplaces, all originally with cast iron inserts for coal burning. Windows were 12/1 double hung, and the doors were 5-panel pine, with the exception of the front door, which was pine half glass. Losses over the years included the fireplace's cast iron inserts, a large portion of the original windows, and the flooring in the kitchen. When the home was purchased by owners Joe Stevenson and David Larson, it had significant structural issues as a result of a failing foundation. Plaster walls had been covered in paneling, vinyl windows took the place of many of the original windows, original doors had been cut to account for settling. The brick chimney was practically disintegrating, and there had been a chimney fire that damaged part of the roof structure. The house was lifted, the old foundation was removed, and the area was excavated for a new concrete block foundation, which became a full lower level of living space. The home was then rebuilt from the inside out. Everything that was salvageable was saved, including floors, fireplaces, many windows, staircase, and the floor plan. The time period of the home was respected in the design of the bathrooms and kitchen. The front porch was rebuilt to the specification of the original porch. Griffin Award, Rehabilitation, the Bird House. Thomas Bird purchased the property for the Bird House in 1923. The date of the original home is unknown, but it is believed that the home was rebuilt in 1929 after a fire, a story which is supported by a number of fire-damaged bricks found on the property and a copy of an Atlanta Journal newspaper dated November 17, 1929, found in the attic wall during the rehab project. The carriage house has a lean-to greenhouse on one side, which dates the carriage house as having been built at the same time or earlier than the main house. The greenhouse was built by Lord and Burnham Company, which is an American company founded in 1872 in upstate New York. The mantelpieces in the living room and master bedroom indicated purchase in Knoxville, Tennessee in 1927. In addition to the main house and the carriage house, the property has a barn with 2 stalls, corn crib, tack room, and upstairs hayloft. In 2014, the home, along with 10.72 acres, was purchased by Ralph and Carol Hedden, and the once Bird House became Hedden House. The Heddens then hired Platt Architecture to rehabilitate the home. Care was taken to preserve much of what makes the home special, including leaded glass windows and doors, a custom crafted compass rose, mantelpieces, original lighting fixtures, original hardwood floors, and the porches. Griffin Award Rehabilitation, New Gunston Hall. New Gunston Hall is a handsome 5-part colonial revival house completed in 1923 for Dr. William Beverly Mason. When Dr. Mason set about building a summer place in the newly developing residential park of Biltmore Forest, he chose as a model for the design his family's ancestral seat in Virginia, Gunston Hall. It is believed that Dr. Mason was attempting to reestablish his family's connection to a home they no longer owned, and to the man who built the home, his great-great-grandfather, George Mason, deemed father of the Bill of Rights. The current owners, James and Sherry Taylor, have undertaken an extensive and meticulous rehabilitation of the home. All plaster work was repaired, restored, and when necessary, reproduced. Original fixtures were used whenever possible. All of the windows were restored, and original storm windows found in the attic were duplicated and installed. The remodeled sunroom on the west end of the house is constructed of ambrosia maple with a hand-rub finish, and the ceiling was designed to complement an antique Tiffany light fixture. The slate roof was beyond repair, so salvaged antique slate was used to re-roof the entire house. Invoices of all construction materials, as well as the original blueprints of the house, were maintained and used in tracking down materials and aiding contractors. The exterior brickwork is in a Flemish bond pattern, and replacement bricks were not available. The original brickyard, still in business today, was located, and the original invoice found to reproduce the matching brick used for the project. After 15 years of neglect, the yard was updated with 150 trees, 1,400 boxwoods and other shrubs, and over 2,500 bulbs using existing yard lines and plant beds, following an original landscape plan. Griffin Award Rehabilitation, Possum Trot. Possum Trot Cottage is a contributing structure in the Albemarle Park Manor Grounds National Register Historic District. The house was built in 1913 in the rustic shingle style for Dr. William Pinckney Herbert, a doctor who later moved his family to Biltmore Forest and rented the cottage out for several years until selling in 1944. The present owners, Amy and Will Hornaday, purchased Possum Trot in late 2012 and engaged Built Right Construction to oversee much of the rehabilitation. Original windows were hand-stripped of paint, broken panes were replaced with salvaged wavy glass, and double-hung sashes were rehung with new ropes. Layers of paint were removed from the original window hardware using the crock-pot method, and broken hardware was replaced with matching reproduction hardware as necessary. During excavation of a poorly built drive, the original brick stoop and path were discovered. The stoop and path were rebuilt using a mix of the salvaged original bricks and matching reproduction handmade bricks. Bathrooms were updated, retaining an original clawfoot tub and replacing later model plumbing fixtures with salvaged antique sinks and more appropriately styled modern fixtures. Plaster throughout the house was refinished by Sebastian Crushon of Apple Valley Stucco, using the texture found inside a small closet that was left untouched and probably indicative of the original plaster texture throughout the house. Paint and plaster were removed from the original brass lighting sconces, and they were rewired and returned to their original locations in the foyer and living room. Late model non-original light fixtures were removed and replaced with antique fixtures throughout the house. Will and Amy's dedication have ensured that Possum Trot Cottage will continue to be a special place on the hillside in Albemarle Park for decades to come.